It's about informing the people with the facts. To know what's really happening in Thailand. Inside government, business, society, with real players, talking to leaders and decision makers, seeking answer with perspective, issues that affect Thailand's future. This is Thailand. This is the Insider Thailand. Welcome to a special episode of The Insider. In 1818, during the reign of King Rama II, an American merchant ship sailed up the Chao Phraya River and arrived Bangkok, marking the first ever contact between the United States and the Thai nation. Now, almost 200 years later, and throughout many global changes, a robust friendship exists between Thailand and the United States, one that has been defined by engagement, understanding, and the common link as allies and as free nation. For the United States, 2017 brought along a new administration in Washington, D.C. At the same time, Thailand has been going through a transition period of comprehensive national reforms. What will this new era mean for the enduring relationship between Thailand and the United States? Joining me this week is His Excellency Mr. Glenn Davis, Ambassador of the United States to Thailand. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ
Well, thank you very much, Excellency, for giving us a great honor to be here at the very beautiful and the historic and unique house. This is the U.S. Ambassador resident in Bangkok.
Yes.
Can I ask you to tell us something about the house?
Well, I'd be very happy to, General Warajan. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is an amazing house. It's a beautiful house. This is a slice of old Bangkok that 70 years ago, this year, American ambassadors first moved in here. The land is Crown land. The house is owned by and administered by the Royal Thai government. So we lease it. It doesn't belong to us. We live here with the permission and the generosity of the government of Thailand. It's over 100 years old.
Yes.
It was built by a British man who worked for an American company 100 years ago. And when it was built, this whole area of Bangkok was very empty. It was rice fields, a few houses. So this was one of the first houses that was built here. And the man who built it in a kind of a combination of Thai style and European Victorian style. It had different owners. The Belgian embassy was here. Then, for a number of years, the advisors to the Kingdom of Thailand, American advisors to the Foreign Ministry, lived here. Back at the time when Bangkok would hire Americans to come and help diplomatically with the big colonial powers of France and England. Beautiful house. It's like a tree house, so it's all up on stilts. This is the main room. There's a dining room and a few other rooms, but only 2 bedrooms. So it really is a house built for, I think, entertainment. So we love living here. It's so much fun. And so nice to have natural beauty around us.
Of course, the house is reflective of the resilient relationship between Thailand and the U.S.
Yes.
Next year, if I am not wrong, will mark the 200 years of the relation between our two countries.
That's right.
So in your view, Excellency, what are the underlying features
of the
relation?
Right. Well, this house is an example, actually, of the relationship because, you know, it comes to us with the generosity of the Thai government and the Thai people. We've been here for 70 years. As you say, next year we celebrate the bicentennial,
Yes.
200 years, 10 generations of friendship and contact between the kings of Thailand
Yes.
and presidents of the United States, which began in the summer of 1818. What I think is characteristic, most important about the relationship between Thailand and the United States, it's a natural friendship. It comes from the instinct, the wisdom of the kings of Thailand, Rama II, whose senior minister, Dit Bunag, wrote a letter to our President Madison saying, we would like to get to know you, and for the United States, which at that time was a very small, very new country, we would like to get to know you and for us to have a relationship of trust and trade and commerce and friendship. And from then, that has been the main characteristic of the relationship. All through the 19th century, the early 20th century, the United States of America played a small role helping Thailand stay independent during the colonial period. Then World War II, this house was occupied by Japanese soldiers for about a half a decade. And then after that, when the relationship really blossomed, we became allies. Cooperation continues on everything from counterterrorism to law enforcement cooperation. We've just sent back to Thailand a fugitive, the monk who was in America.
In 1833, we signed the treaty.
Yes. Well,
What is the significance of
very
that
soon
treaty?
after that first letter from the Chakri dynasty to the White House in 1818, in the early 1830s, we signed a treaty, the Treaty of Amity, which is still in force today. And it's a wonderful treaty because it captures the spirit, the openness, the desire for cooperation between us, and it is still benefited from today by American companies that come here, because American companies have a special status that they can take advantage of if they become amity treaty companies. And so I think it's remarkable that long before the American Civil War, before even the colonial period began to be a factor in Thailand's history, we agreed between the United States and the Kingdom of Thailand to work together through trade and commerce and economic cooperation to strengthen and to make better the lives of the people of Thailand and of the United States. Still in force today.
Up until now, what is the key area of cooperation that our two countries have so far?
I would say probably trade and commerce. The United States of America is the largest investor in Thailand from outside of Asia, the largest trading partner of Thailand, with the exception of obviously China, Japan. So we invest more in Thailand, for instance, than China, Japan, and the Republic of Korea put together. That's one example of our commitment to the kingdom. So I think trade, commerce are the main connections, very peaceful economic connections between us.
Just recently, we have a visit from the U.S. ASEAN Business Council to Thailand, and of course, it was a good sign that there will be a lot of activity in terms of trade and investment between our two countries.
We have a very strong relationship. We have a very big American Chamber of Commerce, 800 companies that are here. We have some of our biggest companies, Ford and Chevron and others, and we also have smaller and medium-sized companies that are here. But that visit from the U.S. ASEAN Business Council to Bangkok to talk to the Prime Minister, he very graciously received these leaders, business leaders, but also all of the ministries involved in the economic relationship was very important because it was a chance for us to take note of the importance, the size, the dynamism, as you say, of the relationship, but also to talk about the need to make it even better, to try to find ways to break down trade barriers that exist so that we can deepen our economic cooperation. We can bring more American technology, American enterprise here, because the combination of American technology and Thai talent, the talent of the Thai people, that can create great wealth and benefits many people. I think there are 250,000 people in Thailand who work for American companies.
We all know that we have a very long history of relationship and cooperation,
Yes.
but with the new administration in the state, in the
Yes.
US, anything would be changed?
Well, I think so. I think there's often a change in emphasis, a change in tone there can be. Different issues begin to take on more importance, some issues not so much. But what I would like to emphasize
Yes.
is that despite the change that occurs naturally in America with our elections, the relationship itself is so deep and so broad that even with the change in presidents, even in our Congress, that relationship goes on. It has its own dynamic, it has its own strength, and of course it has these very deep roots going all the way back to 1818. And all of that, the people-to-people connections, the economic connections, the security ties, military to military, law enforcement, our health relationship, big health relationship between Thai doctors and researchers and American doctors and researchers on Zika and AIDS and malaria and encephalitis and so forth. All of these things have been happening for many, many, many years, happening now, they will continue to happen.
Well, from the beginning of the relation between our two countries, America always has a special place on Thailand. You know, we view American as our great ally.
Yes.
What about Thailand in American perception?
Yes, that's a great question, and that's my favorite question because I read about it in books and I talked to people before I came here, but coming here I can see it. I can see it, that for the United States of America, our first friend in Asia was Thailand. I talked about 200 years. You talked about the treaty from all the way back in the 1830s. We decided as a nation generations ago that that our preferred partner in mainland Southeast Asia was going to be the Kingdom of Thailand. And so today, that is still the case. You are the beating heart of ASEAN. You're the founding nation of ASEAN. For that reason, it's important. You're geographically central, and we have this long history together. The American perception of Thailand is you are the indispensable nation in Southeast Asia for the United States of America. And that's why our primary impulse, our desire for Thailand as a friend, as an ally, as a partner is for you to be strong, for you to be unified, and to move forward into the future and be prosperous and free. And the final thing I'll say that I think was what attracted perhaps the early Chakri kings and the early American presidents to each other is that Thailand and the United States are the same in one key respect. We're both very, very proud of who we are. You as a Thai, me as an American. And our view, and your view, I think, of your country is that we will be independent and free and sovereign, and nobody will control our future. And I think there was a recognition 200 years ago that this was something we had in common. And so that's why we're proud that for many generations, we've worked with you to help you preserve your freedom as a nation, whether it was the Japanese in World War II, the colonial powers before that, communism afterward, that the United States and Thailand have always been partners.
Well, Thailand is now during the transition period, so there are many changes happening in the country.
Yes.
There are many new policy, such as the national strategy, 20-year national strategy, as well as the Thailand 4.0.
Right.
Have you well aware of this policy in Thailand?
Absolutely.
And anything that the U.S. can be part of our history of the sustainable development of Thailand?
The United States of America and Thailand have cooperated on development for many, many years. You know that back in the late 1980s, Thailand became so wealthy and successful that it was no longer a nation we sent assistance to. That ended. But then later, 10 years later or so, our Agency for International Development came back to Bangkok as a partner of Thailand, not to come here to give you assistance because you don't need it, but these plans that you have, Thailand 4.0, developing the economy further, we are very aware of these plans, very interested in helping with them. The United States of America has been fairly successful over the last 25 years or so in transforming our economy from a manufacturing economy to an information-based economy. And many of the largest corporations in the world in information technology are, of course, American companies. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and so forth. So these are ways, these are areas in which I think we can work together very much to help Thailand as it aspires to become an information-based economy and keep its manufacturing sector strong, but move beyond it to the new economies that are there.
In your view, what are the key strengths of Thailand?
Your people. I think your people. I think that as I travel around Thailand, and I've been to almost 30 provinces now, and I go to universities, and I talk to business people, and I meet governors, and I look at the royal projects, I see that you have tremendous ingenuity. You have a great wealth of entrepreneurialism that's there. And what it needs really is to just be freed up economically, I think, to move forward and to innovate. And in these ways, I think the United States and Thailand can very much work together. But it's your people. It's the fact that you have people who love Thailand, who want Thailand to succeed, who respect, admire, obviously, the king, and who want to build Thailand's future. If Thailand can find a way to involve everyone in your future, I think your future will be very, very bright.
Talking about deepening the cooperation between our two countries, the strategic dialogue been held in Washington, D.C., as well as the visit of our CDF, Chief of Defense Forces, to Washington, D.C., to the state. Can you elaborate on the outcome of the meeting?
Yes. Those were two very important developments. The fact that General Soropong went to the United States, went all across the United States, including to the Pentagon, to visit counterparts there. But the strategic dialogue that was led by your Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Boussea Matalin, very capable, strong diplomat, she led a Thai interagency team to go to America to deal with many, many of our government departments, our agencies, to talk about all of these issues, the economic relationship, the security relationship, to talk about cybersecurity, to talk about counterterrorism, to talk about how to break down trade barriers and improve our relationship there, to talk about the people-to-people relationship that we have. How can we expand it even further? How can we grow it for the benefit of the people of Thailand, the people of the United States of America? So she was there on July 14th for a very good, very broad meeting, which will help to prepare for what I hope will soon be the visit of Prime Minister Prayut to the White House to meet with President Trump. So that was an important meeting. She will come back. We'll have a chance to follow up on the agenda of all of these issues that she talked about so that the meeting of our leaders can be successful.
We are approaching the summit season. We would have ASEAN, we would have the APEC. What can we anticipate from the U.S. administration?
Well, the first thing I'll say about the ASEAN and APEC meetings is that our president decided very early that he wanted to go, he had to go. So we announced months ago that the president will go. He's going to go to Vietnam, to the Philippines, to attend those meetings. And I think his agenda is pretty clear. I mean, he wants to talk about counterterrorism. He wants to talk about cybersecurity. He also wants to talk about trade. Trade is very important for this administration. And there's a concern in the United States about some of the trade deficits that we have with a number of countries. A big deficit with China, for instance. A smaller but still significant deficit here in Thailand. How can we break these barriers down so that more investment can flow back and forth, more goods can flow back and forth, we can deepen our economic ties. So the president will come and he'll talk about all those issues. He will talk about the same things that our Vice President Pence talked about when he came to Southeast Asia and went to Jakarta to the ASEAN Secretariat. And he talked about the importance America attaches to ASEAN centrality. We believe in ASEAN. We were the first country in the world to appoint an ambassador to ASEAN. We want ASEAN to continue to strengthen. We're for that. For the region increasingly speaking with one voice on issues that affect all 10 countries, all 660 million people of Southeast Asia. So these are the kinds of themes that I think you can expect the president will address when he comes. He will also talk about North Korea, because for us, North Korea is becoming more and more of a preoccupation, a threat, because North Korea is more threatening. They're developing technologies, nuclear and missile, that all nations of the world, I think, should be concerned about, and we're asking all nations to work with us to send a message to North Korea that they should stop and they should come back to negotiations to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula.
Well, you mentioned about the visit to Washington, D.C. of the Prime Minister of Thailand. It will be happening. What would be the top key agenda of the meeting?
The very first thing our president will seek to discuss and convey is the United States' attachment to the relationship. In other words, it's a way for us to show that we take very seriously and we value our alliance, our cooperation, our friendship. So symbolically, I think that's the first thing that the president will want to use the summit meeting to convey. Then I think he will want to talk, and I'm sure the Prime Minister will too, about the trade issues, economic issues, the security issues.
As we mentioned since the beginning of the program about the 200 years relationship between the two countries, any plan to celebrate that occasion?
Absolutely. No, our hope, our plan is that next year, probably around March, we hope to be able to open up an exhibition to commemorate 200 years of the relationship. And so we will bring back to Bangkok that letter that was sent by Dit Bunag in August of 1818 to President Monroe, and we will bring back, for the first time in history, many of the absolutely beautiful symbolic gifts of the Chakri kings to presidents of the United States. In particular, Rama IV, Rama V, they were both very generous, and Rama IX. So we will bring those back. We will combine them with many of the gifts from American presidents to their counterparts, the kings of Thailand. And through those objects, which are absolutely beautiful, I've been back to the Smithsonian to see them, we hope to tell the story. This exhibition will be a way to tell a story of the past, but the purpose is to try to create a brighter future, a better future.
Well, Excellency, thank you very much. I do believe that with your effort and your support, our two countries will have a brighter future together. Thank you very much for honoring us.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thailand and the United States have grown to become regional and indeed global partner in peace, development, humanitarian affairs, and security. Thank you very much for joining us this week. See you again on next week's program.